So first point is Genesis and the creation of humans. Humanity, according to the Bible, started off in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. So in the beginning, God said to Adam, "Look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant on the surface of this entire earth and every tree whose fruit contains fruit. This food will be for you, for all the wildlife of the earth, for every bird of the sky, and for every creature that crawls on the earth, everything having breath or life in it. I have given you every green plant for food." And it was so.
In the book of Genesis, we are reminded that we were all created from the dirt, from the soil, from the dust of the earth. If, in fact, we were created from the dirt of the earth, from the soil, then there has to be some kind of synergy, some way to verify if, in fact, that creative process actually came to be. Let us consider. There are 112 minerals in the earth. For example, iron. You have iron in your body? Phosphorus, manganese, magnesium, boron, nickel, calcium. All of these minerals that are found in the earth are in fact found in our bodies.
Right.
And together with that, we must supply our bodies with these essential minerals, or either we will get sick and ultimately we will die.
Right.
So that means that we cannot live without those minerals. The infinite wisdom of the Creator caused us to what? He knew that we could not consume these minerals as ores. I could not go out and hack a piece of iron out of the mountain and consume that, ingest it and digest it and metabolize it. But in his infinite wisdom, still knowing and following a perfect plan, he then caused plants to spring forth from the same earth from which we were created. And in those plants, we could find an ample supply of all of the minerals for our bodies. So the Creator then gave us a diet that we would have to consume from the same source from which we were created. It is for that reason that I'm a vegan. This is not just a movement or a fad. This is us going back to live in harmony with the will of the Creator, to move from the transient to the eternal. And I'm simply saying to our people that no animal consumption has anything to do with your beginnings, but it does have something to do with your endings. And we're simply saying that when you consume animal flesh, you move from the transient, you move from the eternal to the transit. So I am a vegan. I am a vegan because I am consuming from the source of my creation, the soil from which I was taken. I, from that same soil, receive all of my nutrition.
Another interesting point about Genesis is that God gave us dominion over the animals, and that doesn't mean dominion as in a abusive or exploitative way, but a more sort of caring. God gave Adam the task of naming all the animals, which is a quite caring act, because animals were originally created to be human companions. The animals were here to be with us and not for us. Do animals have souls? A lot of Christians will think that only humans will have souls because they are created in the likeness of God, and that is true to some extent. We are created uniquely in the image of God, but that doesn't mean that animals don't possess souls. Being created in the likeness of God does not equal having a soul. So you can possess a soul even though you are an animal. It's found that the word nefesh, I'm not sure whether I'm saying that right, which is translated as life or soul, is used 704 times in the Bible, and the word life/soul is used for both animals and humans. God's image of animals is that they do have a soul, they do have sentience, they do have feelings and emotions and thoughts. This is further shown by another story of a talking donkey. So in Numbers there's a story about a donkey who is being severely beaten by its owner, and God gives him the power to talk. The donkey asks him to stop beating him, and this clearly shows that the donkey already had the power of thought, the power of feeling and emotion. Animals do have a conscience, and you can see that in the way animals react to us. And although we don't speak the same language in a way, they still show body language that we can understand. It is obvious to me that animals are living, thinking beings. They're not completely so separate to humans. They can feel pain. We have relationships with them like pets. They're not on this whole separate plane that it doesn't matter if we harm them or not, because if we are harming a sentient being, that is not good in the eyes of God, I think. The main message of Christianity is love. So if you're eating meat and that's stopping you from loving the animals, the earth and your health and other people, then that isn't a good thing. I'm 1000% sure that if you took Jesus and put him on this earth right now into a factory farm, into some sort of industrial slaughterhouse, and showed him all of the pain and suffering that was going on, he would not be pleased in the way that we're looking after this earth.
A righteous man regards the life of his animal. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is, than a fattened ox where hatred with it. Okay.
Eat meat. Is meat eating a sin? Now immediately this question has both yes and no answers. There's a Bible verse, I can't quite remember where it's from. Wait, I might have it here. So it's in Romans, and it says that everything that is not from a conviction is sin. So that can be roughly translated to anything that is not from faith is a sin. So if you are convicted eating meat and you still eat meat, you are sinning. So reasons why someone may be convicted is because they've watched documentaries like Forks Over Knives, Earthlings, Cowspiracy, where they see the impact on health, environment and ethics. However, you may not feel convicted, and this is purely you sort of having some sort of narrow-minded, you don't want to look at it as wrong because you enjoy it too much, or you just haven't heard of the impacts of the meat and dairy industry. But as these documentaries have shown, and lots of research has shown, that meat eating is not a sustainable, nor moral, nor ethical source of food. If you are eating meat, then you are contributing to lots of greenhouse emissions, the cruel standards of animal industry, factory farming, and the unequal distribution of food because of the way that it is priority to feed up the cattle for the richer countries than it is to feed the poorer people. So if you are contributing to the meat and dairy industry, you are also inevitably contributing to those. Eating meat directly isn't a sin because God has allowed it, but you are choosing to have a more detrimental effect on this earth, if that makes sense.